My wife cheated and asked an open marriage, so I chose divorce, exposed her affair, and got revenge. Hey Reddit. I never imagined my life would spiral into this nightmare. When I married Amanda, everything seemed perfect. We were both in our late 20s, met through mutual friends, and fell head over heels for each other. She was smart, beautiful, and kind, everything I could have asked for in a partner. We bought a house together, planned a future, and had so many dreams we shared. For the first few years of our marriage, it was everything I'd hoped for. But as time went on, I started to notice small cracks in our relationship, things that felt off but were easy to overlook at the time. It all started with her behavior becoming distant. Amanda, who was once so affectionate and present, began to retreat into herself. She would stay late at work, go out with friends without me, and when she was home, she seemed distracted, as if her mind was elsewhere. I tried talking to her about it, but every time, she would brush me off, telling me she was just stressed from work or dealing with personal issues. I wanted to believe her, but deep down, something felt wrong. The affection we once had dwindled, replaced by coldness and indifference. A few months ago, I stumbled upon something that shattered the illusion. I came home early one afternoon, intending to surprise Amanda with a homemade dinner. Instead, I walked in on her in the living room, on the phone, laughing and talking to someone in a way that made my stomach drop. She had always been open with me about her friends, but this was different. Her tone was flirtatious, and the conversation had an intimacy I couldn't ignore. She didn't see me come in, and I stood there for a few moments, frozen, unable to believe what I was hearing. I had never thought she would betray me like this. When she hung up, I confronted her immediately. At first, Amanda denied everything, acting as if I was imagining things. She claimed it was just a casual conversation with a friend, nothing more. But I knew something was off. Over the following days, I did some digging. I went through her phone and found messages, countless texts that proved she had been seeing someone behind my back. There were flirtatious exchanges, plans to meet up, and a disturbing level of intimacy that made my blood boil. It wasn't just an emotional affair, it was a full-blown physical one. I felt betrayed, gutted, and completely blindsided. My mind raced with questions. How could she do this? Why didn't she come to me if she was unhappy? Why didn't she tell me what was going on? But no answers came. Instead, I was left with the undeniable truth that the woman I had loved, trusted, and built a life with had been lying to me, sneaking around behind my back. The next few days were a blur. I confronted Amanda again, and this time, she didn't deny it. She came clean about the affair and, to my surprise, didn't seem remorseful. In fact, she said something that completely threw me off guard. She wanted an open marriage. Apparently, she had been talking to her lover about it, and they both agreed that an open relationship was the solution. She told me she was confused about our marriage and had been feeling unfulfilled for a while, but instead of coming to me with these feelings, she had chosen to cheat and then ask for something outrageous, an open marriage. I was furious. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything we had built together, she was asking me to share her with someone else because she wasn't happy. I told her there was no way in hell I would ever agree to that. It wasn't just the idea of sharing her that disgusted me, it was the complete lack of respect she had shown me. Our marriage meant nothing to her, not enough to be honest or open, and certainly not enough to try and fix it before throwing it all away for a fling. I decided right then and there that I would not be a part of her twisted fantasy. There would be no open marriage, and there was no future for us. I filed for divorce the very next day. It wasn't easy. I loved her, or at least the woman I thought I knew. But the person standing before me wasn't that woman. She had shattered my trust, and I wasn't going to waste any more time trying to fix something that was beyond repair. The process of getting the divorce was the hardest part. Amanda didn't make it easy. She was furious, blaming me for everything, accusing me of being cold and distant. But deep down, I knew she was just projecting. She was angry because I had taken away her control over the situation. I had been the one to walk away. I had been the one to make the decision to end things. She wasn't prepared for that. But I didn't care about her anger anymore. I had to think about myself, my future, and my happiness. Once the divorce papers were signed, I felt a mix of relief and anger. I felt free, but I also felt a burning desire for revenge. She had taken everything from me, and now I was going to make sure the world knew the truth. I couldn't let her walk away from this unscathed. She had betrayed me in the worst way possible, and it was time for her to face the consequences. I knew how to get back at her. I had the power to expose everything, her affair, her lies, her demands for an open marriage. So, I did. I reached out to her lover's wife. I knew she had no idea about the affair, and I felt a moral obligation to let her know. It wasn't about causing pain, but about giving her the truth she deserved. I sent her the messages I had found on Amanda's phone, the photos, the texts, everything that would expose the betrayal. I told her the whole story, how her husband had been sleeping with my wife, how he had been part of a scheme to break apart my marriage. The fallout was immediate. Her lover's wife was furious, and I could hear the chaos unfold as she confronted him. But the most satisfying part? Amanda's reaction when she found out I had exposed her. She was livid. She tried to call and text me, begging me to stop, but I didn't care. She had crossed a line, and now she had to deal with the consequences of her actions. But I wasn't done yet. I still had one more step to take. I knew Amanda's friends had no idea what had been going on, and I wasn't going to let them remain in the dark. I sent a message to each of them, letting them know the truth about her affair and the open marriage proposal. I didn't care if they judged me or if they took her side. She needed to be exposed for the liar she was, and I wasn't going to protect her anymore. As I sit here, reflecting on everything, I feel a sense of closure. It's been a tough road, but I know I made the right choice. The betrayal still stings, and the emotional wounds will take time to heal, but I'm moving forward. I'm free of Amanda's lies and manipulations, and now, I can focus on rebuilding my life. But there's one thing I haven't told you yet, something I'll share in the next update. How Amanda came crawling back, desperate for forgiveness, and how I dealt with her when she thought she could worm her way back into my life. Update. I thought filing for divorce and exposing Amanda's affair would be the end of it, but I was wrong. I had underestimated just how manipulative and desperate she could become when things didn't go her way. After I blew up her secret and told her lover's wife everything, chaos erupted in their world. From what I heard, his marriage didn't survive the fallout. His wife kicked him out, filed for divorce, and completely cut him off. Amanda, on the other hand, didn't face the reality of her actions right away. At first, she acted like she didn't care, as if none of it affected her. She tried to pretend she was unfazed, posting on social media about how she was living her best life, making passive-aggressive comments about personal growth and freedom, trying to convince everyone she was thriving. But behind closed doors, she was falling apart. It didn't take long before she started reaching out to me. At first, it was subtle. A text here, a missed call there, messages that made it seem like she just wanted to talk. I ignored them all. But then she started getting bolder. One night, I got a knock on my door. When I opened it, there she was, standing there with tears in her eyes, looking like a mess. She begged me to let her in, saying she just wanted to talk, that she regretted everything and needed to explain herself. Against my better judgment, I let her inside. Part of me wanted to hear what she had to say, if only to see just how far she would go to try and manipulate me again. The moment she sat down, she broke down sobbing. She told me she had made a huge mistake, that she had been confused and lost, and that she never meant to hurt me. She said she still loved me, that she missed our life together, and that she was willing to do anything to fix things. I sat there listening, waiting for her to say something that actually made sense, something that would justify the pain she put me through. But all I heard was excuse after excuse. When I asked her why she thought an open marriage was an acceptable solution instead of just talking to me, she had nothing to say. When I asked her if she would have confessed had I not caught her, she hesitated. That was all I needed to hear. I told her it was too late, that there was nothing left to fix. I wasn't the same person I was before, and she wasn't the woman I fell in love with. She tried to argue, saying we had too much history to throw it all away, but I stood my ground. I told her that she was the one who threw everything away the moment she decided to betray me. She left that night in tears, and for a while, I thought that was the end of it. But I was wrong. Another update. Amanda didn't give up. After our last conversation, I blocked her number and social media, thinking that would be enough to keep her away. But she found other ways to reach me. She started showing up at places she knew I would be, my gym, the coffee shop I went to every morning, even my workplace. It was like she was trying to force her way back into my life, pretending like if she just kept showing up, I would eventually forgive her. At first, I ignored her, but after a while, it started to feel less like desperation and more like obsession. She would leave me notes on my car, send long emails pouring her heart out, even go as far as to talk to my friends and family, trying to get them to convince me to talk to her. It got to the point where I had to tell her to stop in no uncertain terms. One day, after she followed me to my usual lunch spot, I finally snapped. I told her that if she didn't leave me alone, I would file a restraining order. I wasn't playing games anymore. I had moved on, and she needed to accept it. That seemed to finally get through to her. She stopped showing up, stopped trying to reach me, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. I focused on rebuilding my life, surrounding myself with people who actually cared about me. I started going out more, meeting new people, and for the first time in a long time, I felt happy. I realized that Amanda's betrayal, as painful as it was, had freed me from a toxic relationship I had been blind to for too long. But just when I thought it was all behind me, I got one last piece of information that completely blindsided me. A mutual friend reached out, saying that Amanda was pregnant. Final update. When I first heard the news, I didn't know how to react. A million thoughts raced through my mind. Was the baby mine? Was this some twisted attempt to trap me? Or was it her lover's child? I wasn't sure what to believe, but I knew one thing for certain: I needed answers. I reached out to Amanda for the first time in months. When she picked up, she sounded surprised, almost relieved. I asked her directly if the baby was mine. There was a long pause before she admitted that she wasn't sure. That was all I needed to hear. I told her that if she wanted me to be involved in any way, she needed to get a paternity test. She tried to protest, saying that she was sure it was mine, but I wasn't taking any chances. I told her I would have nothing to do with it until I had solid proof. A few weeks later, the test results came back. The baby wasn't mine. I felt a wave of relief, followed by anger. Amanda had spent months trying to get back into my life, acting like she still loved me, all while carrying another man's child. It was clear she had been trying to use me as a backup plan, hoping that if she could win me back, I would take responsibility for something that wasn't mine. It was one final attempt at manipulation, and it had failed. I cut off all contact with her after that. There was nothing left to say, nothing left to salvage. Amanda had made her choices, and now she had to live with them. I, on the other hand, was finally free. Free to move on, to build a new life, to find happiness without the weight of betrayal holding me down. Looking back, I realized that Amanda's affair was a blessing in disguise. It forced me to see the truth, to walk away from someone who didn't deserve me, and to reclaim my life. Now, I'm in a much better place, surrounded by people who truly care about me. And as for Amanda? Well, last I heard, she was struggling, trying to juggle single motherhood while dealing with the fallout of her own actions. I don't wish her harm, but I also don't feel sorry for her. She made her bed, and now she has to lie in it. And as for me? I'm moving forward, stronger than ever.